So anyways, this may be a video we do not take out. This just may be what it is. So yeah, he's manipulating or trying to get Absalom there. He's had 2 years to plan this, right? Because it says for 2 full years. This is not just a heat of the moment kind of thing. You know, it is trying to say that he planned this revenge. This is what he planned. So the king not having any clue. There are times that I find David's actions as if he's very clueless.
The older he gets, perhaps.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's kind of, not being attentive.
Right, exactly. Especially not attentive to his sons.
Yeah.
Which he had lots of them.
Yeah. He dropped the ball with his sons.
He really, I think he really did. I really do. So David does ask why he should go with you. He presses him, 28. He then makes the plan here of commanding his servants, mark when Amnon's heart is merry with wine. So when Amnon is drunk, basically, I want you to kill Amnon. Why do you think he had his servants do it and not himself? I find that kind of strange. He's got all this full of hatred, but yet he delegates the actual act to someone else.
The way the mind of somebody plotting works.
Yeah, I guess so. So he plots for not only the execution of it, but how to maybe avoid the risks that might be involved. Because Amnon might not be as drunk as he think he is. That kind of thing. Amnon probably, I'm just theorizing now, he may have his own guards, if you will, his servants, Amnon's own servants, who would be protecting him, right? So it may be more than just these few words here. It could be a big, drawn out, Hollywood scene with swords drawn and fighting going on for 5 minutes for no reason. Right. That kind of thing. Could have been that. I just find it odd that Absalom didn't take it himself personally to do this. So he kills him, right? So let me see, where is it? Then all the king's sons arose, and each mounted his mule and fled. I'm sorry, it just seems a little silly. I'm having this visual picture in my mind of these guys, trying to get a donkey,
speeding away on a mule,
sticking like this. I have this visual image of this hilarity here, but it's not humorous because someone died here. Verse 30. While they were on their way, news came to David about what happened, and the news first was, your whole family is dead. All your sons are dead.
Yeah, somehow the grapevine was faster
than the donkeys.
Got there before the mules.
Yeah, must have been someone that actually had a horse with it. And so David is obviously lamenting and moaning about that. But 32 is this person named Jonadab, who's the son of Shimea, David's brother, which is like a cousin type of person. Now, Jonadab is one of these slimy little devils. We read about him earlier. If we went back up to, let me see where we find Jonadab. Because he's actually the one that kind of got things in motion here. Let me see. Yeah, it's verse 3. Now remember, this was right at the beginning of chapter 13, and it's stating about how Amnon would get sick, just even thinking about Tamar. okay, about, how he loved her and all this other stuff. We're going to find out. And we find out later that he wasn't loving her, he was just lusting after her. I mean, that was it. But in 3, it says, but Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemiah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very crafty man. That's that individual. This is the same individual that is manipulating events here. These are the types of people we have to watch out for, that always seem to stir things but never himself get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's those crafty people here. And so he's the guy that causes, really, in my opinion, all of this to happen, because he's the one that lays the plan to get Amnon to pretend he was sick and to, say, I only need Tamar to help me. I need bread. You know, that kind of nonsense. And it was Jonadab that set that in motion here. So anyways, back to our story here. But in 32, but Jonadab, the son of Shemiah, David's brother, said, let not my lord suppose that they all have killed all the young men, the king's sons, for Amnon alone is dead. So somehow he knew more than the first message, I guess. I don't know how.
Some of his connected.
Yeah, or he was there.
He may have been there.
Right?
Probably was.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he was there manipulating the scene even more.
Because he was close with Absalom.
Yes, yeah. So I think the great manipulator here was here. Let's see. Amnon alone is dead. For the command of Absalom, this has been determined from the day he violated his sister Tamar. I think that is Jonadab still saying that to David.
Yeah.
You know, this is what's he's feeding to David's head here. So he then, tries to be the hero here, this Jonadab guy. So don't be troubled, don't let your heart be so sad. For only Amnon is dead.
He may have even been implying not only are the rest of them alive, but Amnon deserved it.
Yeah.
Kind of what he's almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But we do know earlier that David knew what Amnon had done.
Yeah.
And it was greatly distressed or whatever it was about it, but did absolutely nothing about it. And then we have in the last section here how Absalom fled, and we start this next set of distance of David's first son being really apart from him, right?
Yeah.
Here, let me see. The young man kept the watch, lifted up his eyes, and he saw all the people coming. And then once again, Jonadab is interjecting himself, and in verse 35 we see, it says, behold, the king's sons have come, and as your servant said. In other words, as I have just told you, see how great I am? Look what I've done. So it has come about. And as soon as he had finished speaking, behold, the king's sons came and lifted up their voice and wept. And the king also wept. In other words, they were very happy to see what they had happened, or that they had made it through that. Then we see that Absalom had fled off to another one of his great cousins, it looks like. David mourned for his son day after day. I don't think that's the formal mourning. I think that was more of a mourning of heartbroken, right? Yeah, distraught over what had happened. And the spirit of the king longed out to Absalom because he was comforted about Amnon since he was dead. It's a strange way to end this section to me. It's strange that he's comforted that Amnon is dead. Is this saying that he's comforted that Amnon finally got what he deserved? I don't know. It's to me, it's very odd here. When we think, we all have kids that have already grown up. We're not in the process of growing our children up any longer. And it's like, man, I wish I had really had this in my life early when my kids were being raised, because, there are excuses why we as parents don't do things. maybe because we feel guilty that we kind of did the same thing. Whatever the child was doing, we kind of did the same thing, and we don't feel qualified then to correct somebody because we've done it. But really, that's not what this lesson is about. This lesson isn't about you're not qualified to enforce what is right. That you should have learned from your mistakes and still done right. David knew his mistake was with Bathsheba. That was his mistake, and he should have. And while he admitted his sin, it was more about his admitting sin about killing Uriah more than it was about Bathsheba and that act with it. David saw these other moral failings in his son Amnon, and David didn't do anything about it. He didn't. He saw Absalom taking revenge, and David didn't do anything really about it. These are just failings that, as a father, we, as a lesson, just because our past is similar to what our kids are doing, doesn't give us an excuse not to say, look, I've learned these lessons. I don't want you to have these same experiences as I have. That's why I can speak with authority. You shouldn't do this. And like I said, I wish I had really read through this when I was young. Maybe I would have done something different with my kids. But I'm not lamenting. That's just the way it is. Okay. Any other insights into this?
The role as a parent changes as our kids are adults.
Right. It's true.
And I know, like you said, your son in Mississippi had good kids, and that he expected them to obey. But that, there's a fine line in there, but that's important. You train up a child when they're at that age, because when they're an adult, you really can't tell them what to do.
Right.
But still, even as an adult, not only was David their parent, he was the king.
Right.
And, it was just easier to ignore it.
I think so.
Turn a blind eye.
Right.
But when they're a child, that's where it really starts.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
right.
When they're a child, and that's where it's not fun or pleasant, but putting some boundaries in is important.
Right.
Because you're launching that person off.
Yeah, exactly.
And as an adult, it's harder to know how to, because you can't necessarily discipline or step in. At the same time, sometimes it's important as an adult to, at least at some level, weigh in on something that's
right.
not right, or
right.
I'm going to love you anyway, but I don't agree
right.
with what you're
right.
doing.
Right.
That type of thing.
Right.
It's more from an arm's distance.
Why you let your grandkids fly a little bit more than your children? Huh?
Yeah.
That spoiling the grandchildren, because it's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
You're a little easier on the grandkids than you're on your own children.
Go easy.
You overlook a lot.
Yeah, go easy on the grandkids.
Because you realize what you did to little
when they were yours, you felt like you had to toe the line.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's payback. I don't know.
All right.
All right. We're going to stop here. Anything we need to pray for?